A video, just a few minutes of video. But when that video was played, everyone in the courtroom understood the same thing at the same time. Kash Patel would answer a different question today, in his own words. Because the man on the screen was not FBI Director Kash Patel. He was the Kash Patel from 2 years ago. He was looking into the cameras, speaking clearly and confidently. The Black Book is under the direct control of the FBI Director. It is under the direct control of that director. There is no obstacle for the director not to release this. The clip is over. The hall fell silent, and the Maryland representative turned to Patel right in the middle of that silence. Director, those words belong to you. On record. And now you are that director. And now you are the director. Be the first to learn about such moments. Subscribe now. To understand the background of this trial, we need to take a few steps back. Kash Patel was one of Washington's fiercest institutional critics before becoming the FBI director. He appeared on podcasts. He gave interviews. He repeated the same message on every platform. The Epstein files should be shared with the public. It is said that the FBI is hiding these files, and according to many people, there is only one reason for this: the names on that list. In an interview he gave in 2023, a sentence he constructed had sparked serious debate at that time. Be serious now and tell us who those pedophiles are. Now be serious and tell us who those pedophiles are. What they said had been recorded. In other words, there was an undeniable statement. That clip was still accessible. And this morning, the Maryland representative brought that clip to the courtroom. When the hearing began that morning, the room was filled with an unusual tension. This was not a routine budget hearing. It was the FBI director's first comprehensive testimony before Congress. Patel came prepared. He had 4 lawyers with him. The briefcases were filled with answers prepared for every possible question. He rattled off numbers in his opening statement. 23,000 perpetrators of violent crimes were arrested. 4,700 child victims were identified. 1,500 child abusers were detained. Republican senators praised. Democratic senators asked. And Patel breezed through every question in the first 2 hours of the morning. But everyone knew the real questions had not yet come. When Representative Raskin took the floor to speak, the atmosphere in the room suddenly changed. It's really hard to describe this in words. There was almost no sound in the environment. No one was moving, but there was a distinct feeling in the air. That familiar feeling that anyone who has spent years in such rooms in Washington would immediately recognize. Raskin opened the tablet on his desk. Director Patel, he said, before you were FBI director, you used very clear language about the Epstein files. Patel waited. His face was controlled. He was professional. I want to show you a few clips from that period. The first clip was played. Patel's voice filled the courtroom from 2 years ago. The Black Book is directly under the control of the FBI director. There is no obstacle for the director not to publish this. The clip is over. The room fell silent. Raskin looked at Patel. Director, those words belong to you. On record. He stopped. More than 200 days have passed since that conversation. The Black Book is now directly under your control. She leaned over the table. Why didn't you publish it? Why didn't you publish it? Patel replied. The material, colloquially known as the Black Book, is data obtained by a journalist 5 years ago. It has already been shared with the public. Raskin slightly shook his head. No, Director. The thing you mentioned in that video was not that version. Then he raised his tablet and pointed to the screen. You were talking about material directly under the control of the FBI director, and you said it should be made public. Patel gave a brief response. We published everything that was directly under my control and that I could legally publish. Everything you can legally publish, Raskin repeated slowly. But in that clip, you didn't mention legal restrictions. You mentioned the director's will. He paused. What changed in 2 years? What has changed in 2 years? This question hung in the courtroom. Everyone waited for Patel's answer. Patel replied, "When you sit in the director's chair, you realize that some things are not as they appear from the outside. At that time, I was evaluating this institution from the outside. Now I'm on the inside, and the picture is very different. Now I'm inside, and the picture is very different." Raskin shook his head slightly. "So, when you were outside, you were saying release it, but from the inside, you're saying I can't release it." He paused for a moment. "This is a contradiction." And this contradiction became part of the congressional record. But the second clip had not yet been shown. Raskin opened his tablet again and said he wanted to show another video. This time, Patel's voice was even clearer. "Put on your big boy pants and tell us who the pedophiles are." The room froze. Raskin reminded everyone that Patel had said those words in December 2023 and argued that at the time, Patel had suggested the only reason the Epstein files were not released was because of the names on the list. Now, Raskin continued, Patel was the director and had already issued a memorandum with the Attorney General saying no further explanation was appropriate or necessary. Leaning forward, he asked how Patel had gone from demanding transparency to saying no further explanation was needed in just a few months. The silence in the hall deepened as Patel answered. He said everything had been done within the legal framework and pointed to 3 separate federal court rulings that limited what could be released. Raskin repeated the phrases legal framework and court rulings, then reminded Patel that 2 years earlier he had talked about the will of the director, not court decisions. The difference, Raskin said, was still waiting to be answered. Later in the hearing, California Representative Garcia raised another issue, citing a report from the Cato Institute claiming more than 2,500 FBI personnel had been redirected to immigration enforcement operations. Patel rejected the claim, saying the statement was incorrect and that the alleged network of 764 child abusers in Baltimore had already been taken down. Garcia responded that Patel had told Senator Durbin the previous day that he did not know about the matter, pointing out that the 2 statements appeared to contradict each other. Outside the hearing room, reactions came quickly. A former federal prosecutor said that confronting a witness with their own past statements is often the moment they are most caught off guard, and that Patel's answers seemed to raise more questions than they resolved. An academic specializing in transparency noted that the contrast between Patel's criticisms before becoming director and his decisions afterward had become the central issue of the hearing. At its core, the debate was about a broader question: why harsh criticism of an institution from the outside often changes once someone takes charge of it. Patel's explanation was that seeing the system from the inside is different from looking at it from the outside. But the earlier clips still existed, and the words spoken years before continued to echo through the congressional chamber that morning. As Patel left the courtroom, he departed without the corporate confidence he had carried when he entered that morning. He was still the director, but the words he brought to the table revealed a much bigger question that morning. And that question remained unanswered. Sometimes the strongest mechanism for accountability doesn't come from an external document, but from the person's own past words. This morning, that is exactly what happened. Raskin didn't open a folder. He only opened a tablet. And the voice coming from that tablet was Patel's own voice from 2 years ago. And that voice changed everything this morning. We are following all these developments. Subscribe to our channel, don't miss the next video.